Hello everyone and welcome to today's ShipHero webinar. Please let me know in the chat if you can hear me. We'll start in a moment. Let's wait a minute for more people to join. Okay, thank you all for joining our webinar on how brands hit the easy button for shipping that originates in the UK. Wanted to let you know that this webinar is being recorded and you'll receive the full recording via email once we're done. So let's kick it off. My name is Danno Starc, Marketing Manager for ShipHero, and I'll be your moderator for today. With me are the following heroes: Gary Mirsky, our VP of SaaS Sales, Yosef Haas, our VP of Product, and joining us from the Sencloud team, Niels Bergmans, Head of Partnerships, and Joe Newbold, Senior Account Executive. And this is our agenda for today. First, a brief overview on Sencloud. Then we'll explore how ShipHero integrates with Sencloud. We will learn about their available carriers, how the integration works, and some tips and tricks. And finally, we'll have a Q&A panel, so we encourage you to post your questions in the chat. So Niels, Joe, please take it away.
Thanks, Danno. Yeah, it's great to be here to talk to you a little bit around Sencloud and the partnership with ShipHero. So my name is Joe Newbold. I'm part of the enterprise sales team from Sencloud, and I'm based in the UK. So what is Sencloud? So Sencloud is Europe's #1 shipping platform. So we support over 25,000 merchants throughout Europe, and we help them to optimize their shipping processes. So there's two different ways you can utilize the Sencloud platform. You can upload your direct contracts to the platform by uploading your credentials and accessing the carriers on the platform. Or we have pre-negotiated rates in all of the markets that we operate. So you can leverage those rates if you want to access new carriers, new markets at speed. And specifically for the conversation today around shipping from the UK, with the additional complexities of Brexit and shipping into the EU, we can talk you through a little bit around how we can support you in that. Not only do we help you in terms of your operational efficiencies, but we also help you to enhance the overall consumer experience. So right from the moment the consumer enters the checkout through to tracking and returns, we provide branded and customizable experiences to really help our merchants to enhance the overall experience and use that as an accelerator for their growth. Go on to the next slide. Cool, thank you. In terms of the current carrier overview that we have today, so we work with over 85 carriers on the platform. Now, this is not a fixed set of carriers, this is constantly evolving. And the way that we can do that is we have what's called an open SDK, which is a software development kit. So there are many different ways that new carriers can be added onto the platform. So what we find is some carriers want to offer their services to our current customer base, so they can actually integrate directly to Sencloud and offer their services that way. Or we might have a request from an existing merchant where they want a specific carrier for a new market perhaps. We can actually either build it ourselves or the merchant can instruct one of their partners to build it. And finally, we have a whole team who are evaluating the market within Europe, within the countries we operate, to establish where maybe there is another carrier that might add extra value to our customers. Specifically what we're seeing now around sustainability, environmentally friendly delivery methods such as bicycle couriers or electric vehicles. We can then actually go out and build them, negotiate with the carriers and onboard them ourselves. So this open software development kit really gives us that agility to onboard new carriers at speed. And through the ShipHero integration, all of the customers will get access to this carrier base. So that's a bit of an overview from me, an introduction to Sencloud. So I think, John, you're going to talk through the integration between ShipHero.
Thank you, Joe. Hello, everyone. I'm Yosef Haas, VP of Product at ShipHero. I want to talk a little bit about how ShipHero connects to Sencloud and some of the things you can unlock by doing that integration. First of all, you unlock a wide range of European carriers with one integration. So getting access to all current and future Sencloud carriers with one simple setup. There's no separate connection in ShipHero for each carrier. You don't have to create new accounts. One setup, one connection, and you have access to all the carriers that Sencloud supports. In ShipHero, Sencloud is a native connection. So once it's connected, you get the credentials from Sencloud. It's a simple one-form setup. You're connected, and Sencloud is now available as a native connection in ShipHero for printing all your labels. Labels are generated directly in ShipHero, so no going to separate software. You don't have to go to a different website. Everything is done in the typical flow, the typical integration of any ShipHero native carrier connection. And you can choose to use specific Sencloud carriers or take advantage of the rules that you have in Sencloud to determine which carriers or which methods are selected for an order. So if you have business rules or pricing rules that you set up in Sencloud, you just tell ShipHero, I want to get the best label for this order. ShipHero will send that to Sencloud, and Sencloud will return the label based on that carrier and that method that you set up in your rules. So it's a very simple connection, and it really gives you a lot more powerful and a lot more access to carriers that Sencloud supports. And again, not only the ones they support today, but as Joe mentioned, as they get added, as you get new carriers, those will be available as well.
Yes, so that's where I come in. Some tips and tricks, right? Because shipping can be quite challenging, can be a hassle, especially if you want to ship from the UK to mainland Europe. I mean, having that whole environment patched up is one thing, but then knowing how to work with it is another one. So a couple of tips and tricks on multi-carrier strategies, consumer trends, and also a couple of industry facts that we've seen throughout our e-commerce delivery compass, which is a research of over 8,000 replicants that come up with their input, with their ideas on how e-commerce should work, and especially on the shipping side. So if we go to the next slide, first and foremost, you will see a huge change between a single versus a multi-carrier shipping strategy. A lot of webshops these days have one carrier, whether it's PostNL, a DHL, DPD, or whatsoever, and they will only and mainly offer that carrier with all the shipping methods that are fitted within this existing carrier. The first tip that you can do is think about and open up your carrier strategy to offer not one, but maybe 2 or 3, 4 different carriers. Why? As you might know yourself out of your own experience, you might prefer that Royal Mail delivery guy over the one from DPD or DHL or any other carrier, because they are on time or just the route that they take is better. So if you have that freedom to pick your preferred carrier, that's a conversion booster of around 3% already. Also having the option to pick a same day delivery or a next day or an eco-friendly day delivery is also free and flexible per carrier. So testing a bit with that, A/B testing is definitely a good tip to test out. If you go to the next slide, there will be a couple of value bombs, as we like to call it. And this is especially focused on cross-border difficulties that we've seen from merchants shipping from the UK into mainland Europe. First and foremost, you will see that shipping costs is a big road stopper. People don't like to pay too much. If you look at the Dutch especially, we can come off quite cheap sometimes, but we don't want to pay more than a certain amount per shipment, and especially if it's international, right? The other one, if you look at the possible customs, especially now with Brexit, there's a couple of challenges that you need to take in consideration. So 47% stated that if there are certain custom duties that have to be paid, or a lot of hassle that needs to be done, being either a merchant or an end consumer, they will not buy internationally. And the other one is complex returns, that if we need to go through many hoops to return a product, it's a no-go, and that actually has a breakdown of 60% of the conversion ratio. If returns is not properly stated or handled, people will just simply not buy. Let's dive a bit deeper into those bombs with some secrets. In the next slide, we will see that free shipping is not the golden standard. Yes, you will see a lot of web shops that test and to try to boost their shipping price, and of course their product prices, to say like, hey, if you order over 75 or 100 euros, you will get shipping for free, which is nice. But what we've seen is, yes, again, the Dutch are quite cheap. We would prefer to pay not really much more than 3 euros 40. But if you look, for instance, at the Austrians, they're easily paying 5.20 euros for a standard shipment below a certain price. Overall, take in consideration, if you would ship from the UK into the mainland of Europe, think about a shipping price around 4.10 euros, because that's been proven by 8,000 repliants that that's an average accepted price that they are willing to pay for a shipment. If we dive in secret number 2, we will see again that major duties are like a breaker, right? If you want to ship something and at the border with the customs, there's going to be an extra charge on top of it, which is being paid by the end consumer. They don't like that. They're not happy with it, and this can be taken care of rather easy, right? Think about the CN22 or CN23 forms, or the commercial invoices that you need to take there. If you can do that all paperless in the paperless trade, it saves, again, paper, but also printing labor for yourself, and everything can be taken care of online, that they just scan the label and have all the information they need, which will prevent extra duties being charged on top of it for the end consumer. Next slide, which brings us to the last shipping secret, is ship internationally. Of course, we like to expand, but please think locally. Every country has their own preferred carrier supplier. So if you would ship from the UK into Germany, please consider to use, for instance, DHL, because DHL is part of Deutsche Post, which is, you can compare them like the Royal Mail in the UK. If they have a choice of their preferred supplier or one from abroad that they don't really know, chances are quite big that they will just leave your store and go to one of your competitors that do offer the more familiar local shippers. So please make sure to test out that multi-carrier strategy, test a bit with shipping costs, and make sure that you take in consideration to take care of a proper custom form, that you have all the duties and the etc. included. That were the secrets.
Thanks, everyone. That was really good information. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to, on either side, to reach out to us at hello@shiphero.com, and we'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions along the way.
Perfect. Thank you, Gary. And so I know everyone has been waiting to ask questions, so now we open the Q&A session. Just type them in the chat and I'll read them out loud for our panel. So I already see that Rosmana left a question in the chat earlier. She asks, is it also for carriers outside the existing countries?
So the way it works is we have obviously the 8 core countries that we operate from, but we can ship, there will be the sender's address will be in any one of those countries, but we can ship to any country in the world from there, obviously depending on what the carrier shipping methods are available and their capabilities. But I think your question there is the open software development kit. So yeah, it is completely open, but the reason we chose those 8 countries is because that's where we see the biggest demand and the most value. And that's why we focus our efforts on those 8 core countries in mainland Europe plus the UK. But as I say, it's an open software development kit, so there could be potential opportunities, but that's something we would look at is in outside of the core of our operating portfolio, if you like.
So we have another question. Joey says, can a customer use one account for 2 different countries, or does that require 2 accounts?
So yeah, you can just use one account. So you'll have one main account in Sencloud, and then we'll basically create little other warehouses because you'll have different shipping addresses. So we'll configure another warehouse, another shipping address for another country. So let's say you have a warehouse in Germany, one in the UK. You'll have just one account with Sencloud, but we'll create 2 different shipping addresses for you.
On top of that, it's also possible to work with different kind of brands. So if you're selling more kind of brands, we can just create those within the Sencloud account, attach the correct webshop to it, and with the smart shipping rules, we can play around and say like, hey, if we see that the shipment to country is Germany, use DHL with brand X.
We have another question by Kieran. What type of customers will benefit most from working with both ShipHero and Sendcloud?
Yeah, I'll grab that one to start. I think, there's, if you have a brand that you're shipping in Europe and you're looking for ways to, you're not huge, you're working for ways to easily hit different countries. Maybe you're located in a couple of different countries. It's a perfect solution. Also a great solution for if you're looking to, you're based in North America and looking to increase your penetration in Europe. This is a great way to do it with working with ShipHero and Sendcloud together. And finally, certainly if you're a 3PL in that area, all those work. I think the key thing for us for the partnership is trying to make it easier if you're setting up or have a warehouse or have a brand, trying to make it easier for you to get access to everywhere in Europe, as opposed to having set up individually on your own.
Rosmana is asking, do you have to specify the country on the Sencloud account?
But I'm not sure what you mean by that. So you can obviously have different Sencloud accounts per country, or you can have one account with different sender addresses, as you mentioned, for different countries. Only thing is obviously where we operate in mainland Europe, they all use the same currency. In the UK, obviously they use pounds, so there would potentially be different configurations set up there depending on the setup you wanted. But we're quite a flexible platform, so we can set you up however is most suitable for your needs.
Also, a question by Jilly. Do you have the capability to do consolidated bulk shipping into a country? For example, group all orders going to Germany into one large order to be split up at a destination, in-store, or last mile?
So yeah, it's a good question, and it's something that we're seeing more and more requests for, as we spoke about with Brexit and the complexities of getting into Europe. So we work with partners who can collect, let's say, consolidated orders, and then they will direct inject them into a hub. So if we use Germany, for example, let's say your shipping address is in the UK somewhere, the partner will collect a pallet of items, let's say, from your warehouse in Birmingham, will then direct inject them into a hub in Germany, let's say DHL packet, and they will then split them out and deliver final mile to the consumers or business addresses. So yeah, that's quite a more and more common solution, if you like, for getting into Europe from the UK.
So Rosmana asks, Yosef, could this potentially be done through shipping containers?
Are you referring to the consolidated? I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about, but shipping containers would be different than consolidated. They would potentially help you sort it. So shipping containers is a feature in ShipHero that allows you to easily sort packages after they're shipped. So if you have some going to Germany and some going to another country, yeah, it might be helpful to sort them into the pallets. Wouldn't be necessary. It's separate from the actual consolidation, but yeah, that could be a way to make that process easier. Sure.
I have a question here by Robert asking, what are the best examples of customers using advanced order management logic and helping Sencloud and ShipHero to reduce costs?
So I can tell you that what we are seeing is there are customers in the 3PL space that have been able to use some of the tools that work together. So allow that, I think would be the best example of this. So they're not only using advanced, like not only the logic, but they're also, it's easier for them to get their product everywhere. I think the best ones that I would say is 3PLs is what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, one more aspect I can think of is combining the order routing in ShipHero. So if you have multiple warehouses, our multi-warehouse allocation rules to allocate the order to the most efficient warehouse in terms of where it's shipping from, and then using Sencloud's logic and their rules to determine which carrier to use. So you combine those two, you're shipping from the best place and using the best carrier, and that's going to give you a lot of cost savings.
Yeah, for sure. Just to add on that as well, in Sencloud, of course, configure up the shipping rules that give you the most value. So depending on maybe the weight, value of the items that are being shipped, you can choose the most efficient or cost-effective carrier, which will help you bring the efficiencies, as Yosef said, in terms of the operational performance, but also on the cost perspective from using the right carrier at the right time based on all the specific metrics for that individual parcel.
So if there's no further questions, we'll end the Q&A panel. But if you want to reach out to us privately, you can send us an email to hello@shiphero.com. I just want to thank everyone attending today and also our wonderful panel. My name is Danno. It's been amazing to be your moderator. Don't forget that you'll receive a link to the recording via email. Thank you very much for joining us today and have a wonderful day.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.